Alright amici, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Sabrina. I'm going into my 4th year studying classics at the University of Oxford. So if you're a massive classics nerd like me, or maybe someone who's potentially interested in applying for classics at Oxford or just Oxford life in general, feel free to hit the subscribe button down below and join me on my university journey. So the point of today's video is just to run through some of the top tips that I wish I had known when I was starting in Oxford 4 years ago as a fresher, although my experience might be slightly different to you guys now because I started uni during COVID as a fresher, so a world away from what life is like right now in the UK. However, that being said, over the course of my time at Oxford over the past 4 years, I feel like I've managed to pick up quite a few tips that hopefully will be of use to those of you who are starting this year and those of you who are starting in the future. I've tried to make these tips quite specific, so not the usual kind of advice about, oh, join societies to make friends, because I think that kind of stuff you can get from any general freshers advice video. This is more specific tips, which does mean that it is quite Oxford centric, although those of you who are freshers at Cambridge, this might also apply, because let's be honest, the experience between the two Oxbridge universities is relatively the same. So without further ado, let's move on to top tip number 1, which is bring a hot water bottle. Bring extra blankets, bring an Udi if you own one, because oh my god, something they will never tell you when you're going around on your open days or even on your college parent letters and whatever advice, you know, people give to you before you start Michaelmas term, is Oxford gets seriously cold during the winter time. Colleges often don't want to pay for heating, they're pretty stingy about it. They often don't want to turn it on until at least, you know, the beginning of November, if that, which means that if there's a rapid temperature drop between October and November and you are staying in an old accommodation block where there is practically no like heating retention, or it's not well insulated, and you find out that, you know, you can't use the heating, the college won't turn the heating on until at least November, you can get seriously cold, and it's just not a great position to be in. So for your sake of your health and for your concentration and just general, you know, quality of life, I would just really advise you to bring extra things to help you keep warm during the winter time. This also relates to top tip number 2, which is to check with your accommodation manager if you haven't already found out which kind of accommodation you're staying in, which I presume most of you will have done on like some kind of college email, but if you haven't, check with your accommodation manager what type of accommodation you're staying in, what is the name of the building, because often you can search it up online and it will be on the college website and it will say usually what the facilities are, if it's an old building versus a modern building, and you can kind of gauge generally how well insulated that might be. But also this is important for the sake of finding out whether or not you have a double bed or not. Now this depends on which college you go to. Often some colleges are very open about, you know, you have to pay an extra rate to have a double bed, or you have to pay an extra rate to have an ensuite. This isn't always the case. So for example, with my college, it's kind of random in the sense that when you're a fresher, you arrive to whatever accommodation is left over from the 3rd year ballot. So you could well end up with a double bed without really realizing that you're getting a double bed, which then means you might be underprepared because you don't have the right bedding. So to save yourself some stress and some hassle, it might just be worth emailing your accommodation manager and double checking that if it hasn't already been specified to you in an email what kind of accommodation you have. Is it a double bed? Is it a single bed? Is it an ensuite? Do I have a kitchen? All of those things are actually really important to find out beforehand, and it will save you a lot of stress. Top tip number 3 is, if you haven't already, get in touch with your college parents. Now, if you don't know what a college parent is, or you've heard of it, for example, you've been sent an email by your college parents and you don't know what it is and it's kind of freaked you out, don't worry, it's nothing super scary. Essentially they are just 2 or 3 older students who are friends usually, who have signed up to be mentors for the younger years, which means that if they are your college parents, they are there for you to ask questions. Usually one of them will do your subject as well, which is super useful. And this is what I'm going to come on to say, which is the reason that you should contact your college parents is because if you aren't sure exactly what you're going to be doing that term yet in terms of academics, it can be super helpful to check with one of the older students at your college. That way you're able to prep a lot more efficiently for the first term in the final few days that you do actually have before you go up to Oxford. So for example, if you have a massive reading list and it's for like loads of different subjects and you don't really know what you should be prioritizing, it's super helpful to ask your college parents, oh, what am I actually doing in terms of modules this term? Do you remember what it was like in first term of first year? Which books should I be prioritizing? Which books should I be reading? Which tutors will I have? And they will be able to fill you in on all that juicy information, and that way you won't be wasting your time on reading things that you're not going to be studying for at least another 2 terms just because it's everything that's on the reading list for the whole year. College parents are also super useful for finding out information about tutors as well, which ones are very strict, which ones are a little bit more lax, which ones are nice, which ones are scary, just to give you that sense of familiarity which will make your experience so much easier and your transition so much easier into uni life. So I would really recommend that if you haven't already, get in touch with your college parents, because they're there to help you and they will help you throughout your time at Oxford. They might even give you their own notes as you go through the years, so yeah, you want them on your side. Tip number 4 is much more to do with social life and CV experience and that kind of thing, and it is to join your college ball committee. Now, the reason I say this is because during your time at Oxford, 9 times out of 10, most of you will want to go to college balls over your time at university, and joining a college ball committee is probably one of the best cheat codes to going to as many balls as possible for the least amount of money spent. The reason for this is when you're organising your own college ball, not only is a great opportunity to meet new people, get loads of great experience for your CV, as you will be managing massive amounts of money to organise a big college ball. Some of those college balls are managing budgets of up to $500,000, so if you get the opportunity to do that, it's great for your career experience, but also it often means that when you are organising the ball committee will do swaps with other committees, and that way that they will give free tickets to you guys, say you were one college ball committee, to come to their ball in exchange for free tickets to yours, and that way you can go to loads of different balls for free whilst getting experience, whilst being able to, even if you're not able to enjoy the college ball as much that you are organising because you're organising it, you will be able to go to other balls and enjoy those with people that you know, that you'll get on with. It's just a great tip, a great hack, to be honest. If you like getting fancy, dressed up, going to college balls, join a ball committee. Obviously do the work. I'm not saying join the committee and don't do the work and, you know, make a rubbish ball for your college. No, it's like a big responsibility, but if you are someone that's interested in event planning, for example, join your college ball society / committee. It will help you out a lot. And on a similar vein, tip number 5 is make the most of all the free opportunities that all those law firms, all those finance firms, all those business consultancy firms fund to try and essentially charm Oxford students into joining or applying for their companies. What I'm talking about here is all of those free dinners that are paid for by those companies that are open to Oxford students to attend, all of those CV workshops, those networking events, those free drinks, those, and especially I'm thinking about Law Society, they'll have like president's drinks, law firms will come in and host dinners for free for everyone. Make the most of those opportunities, because there's things that are constantly happening in Oxford, and if you're a student and you're broke, it's pretty nice to get a free course meal. Do you know what I mean? So just make the most of those opportunities whilst you can, and also help out your CV and yourself whilst doing it. Tip number 6 is make friends with people outside of your college. Now, I'm not saying make friends with people outside of your college for the sake of just having friends outside of college. Obviously, you need to like the person, right? But do make an effort to join those societies that branch across different colleges. And the reason I say this is having a network of people that go to different colleges gives you the opportunity to not only attend each other's formal dinners, for example, or attend each other's college balls, or even attend each other's college libraries, but it's also very important for your social welfare and your general well-being, because colleges, as great as they can be, and you can get on super well with, you know, your college year groups, and often your closest friends will always come from your college year group. However, sometimes it can get a little bit claustrophobic, especially because some colleges are very small. Your year groups might be very familiar with each other, everyone knows each other's business, you know, the Oxford gossip culture does exist to a certain extent, so it may be nice just to be able to vent to other people that are outside the college, to get a fresh perspective on life in college. By having that relationship with someone outside of your set environment, and it can help you feel a bit more connected to other kinds of people, especially if, for example, you come from a minority background and there's not many people from your background at your college. Connecting with other people from another college who do share your background is a really, really great opportunity to build a nice community and a network, which will help all of you out as you go through your years at Oxford. Tip number 7 is that you can use any faculty or generally university-wide library regardless of your subject. So even if you did classics like me, you can go and use the social science library, or if you did law and you want to use the Radcam, which is technically the history faculty library, you can do that. And I think it's something that kind of gets forgotten about a lot of the time. You tend to just end up going to your own college library because it's the most convenient, or the Central Bodleian and Radcam libraries because, you know, they're the biggest and they immediately come to mind. But there's so many other libraries around the place. I think a really underrated choice is the Taylorian, or even the Arts, Archaeology and Ancient World Library. That's really nice, which is just around the corner. Well, it's not necessarily the prettiest looking, but I really like it as a study space because it's got all of my books there. It's really peaceful most of the time. It's a good study environment. But there's also so many different vibes of libraries. There's really modern ones, like I think the law faculty one is quite modern. It's a great thing to be able to experiment with loads and loads of different libraries as study spaces and actually go on a little library tour around the place as you progress through your years at Oxford. Sometimes you need to just switch up where you're working to be able to work better, and that's why one of the coolest things I think about this university is the amount of places that you can go and study, and the amount of libraries you can go and visit is just crazy. But a lot of people forget about that whilst they're here, and I'm certainly guilty of that as well. Now, tip number 8, and this might be the last one, is the best value student places to eat out for lunch or dinner in general are the covered market. There's so many different types of cuisines in there. There's so many different places to eat. Coffee shops are amazing. My personal favourites in there probably are Columbia Coffee does the best coffee ever. There's also Brothers Cafe, they do student discount, they do the most amazing souvlaki Greek food. It's just chef's kiss. Then opposite St John's there's a sandwich hut called Najar's. It does the most amazing wraps and baguettes and all sorts of food for a very cheap price. If you're a John student, you get discount as well. John students get discounts everywhere, so if you're a John student you should just look out for all the different places you get a discount for. It's just really quite unfair, but hey ho. My favourite place, my favourite restaurant probably to eat is Bobona, which is a amazing like Roman pincer pizza place on Gloucester Green Square. And Gloucester Green is also an amazing place to eat out with friends and things because they, I think it's from Wednesday to Saturday, they have a big food market, open air food market there with all different types of cuisines from around the world, and it's relatively affordable, so I really recommend those places. But in general, Oxford's so full of different places to go eat, different coffee shops. The amount of coffee shops is actually incredible. If you are a fan of coffee, if you like working out in a coffee shop for example, you are going to be in heaven because there's so many different places to try out, and I'll just let you guys experiment with that because Columbia personally is my favourite coffee, but there's so many other cool ones to go to. There's the Vaults and Gardens, there's the Missing Bean, there's the Opera Cafe by Jericho. So many different places, but it's all part of the fun of finding stuff out as a new student. So I've given you some recommendations. I'm sure you'll get many, many more from your college parents and the other people that you meet in Oxford next week or whenever you're watching this and you're starting Oxford. That's it. I hope this was helpful, some of those tips. I tried to make them not as conventional as many of the other sort of freshers advice videos and make them more specifically tuned to Oxford. So if they have been helpful, please let me know down below. If you are someone who's watching who is just an Oxford student, give your own tips about being a student down below. Let's help each other out. Let's help all the new freshers find their feet. And if you are a new fresher, good luck, work hard, be kind to yourself, give yourself time to settle in. Not everything will, you know, settle in 100% straight away. It will be weird joining uni for the first time, but honestly, Oxford is an amazing place. So many amazing people here to meet, so many passionate, interesting people to meet. I'm sure you'll have the best time. Don't forget that you earned this place. You managed to get in when other people didn't, so don't ever doubt yourself, even if you get feedback that, you know, can be a little bit discouraging to sometimes, especially the transition from school to university can be quite striking. Don't let that hold you back. You've got this. And yeah, if any of you have any more questions, please leave them down below. If not, I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!